At the wedding, Sophia and I were about to exchange wedding rings. The moment the spotlight shone on me, I suddenly heard Sophia's inner voice. If it weren't for the fact that Henry is infertile, how could I possibly marry this man? Is she blatantly cuckolding me even before we're married? I'm not going through with this wedding. I turned my head and glanced at my twin brother, Henry, who was sitting in the front row of the audience. Although we are twins, we don't look alike. Perhaps because he is the younger brother, it is said that he was born just a few minutes later than me, but his body is weaker than mine. But this has almost made him take away all the love that should have been mine. Henry was now gazing at Sophia, my soon-to-be wife, who was about to exchange wedding rings with me on the stage, with a look of deep affection and jealousy. Their eyes met. I actually saw a look of full tenderness in Sophia's eyes, which were usually as cold as frost. And when she turned her head to look at me, her fiancé, her eyes were as cold as if she were looking at a stranger. She urged, "Didn't you shamelessly beg to marry me? What are you waiting for? Hurry up and finish the wedding ceremony." As she spoke, Sophia raised her right hand, indicating that I should quickly put the wedding ring on her. But I subconsciously put down the wedding ring. In an instant, all eyes were on me. Looking at Sophia, who had an annoyed expression on her face, I heard her inner voice again. "I've already agreed to get married. What kind of trick is he trying to pull now?" I sneered inwardly. All my wholehearted efforts had actually been regarded as tricks by Sophia. I asked myself that I had never wronged anyone in this relationship. But now I ended up like this. I picked up the whole bottle of champagne on the table and threw it hard on the ground. After a loud bang, I said word by word, "I'm not going through with this wedding." As soon as I finished speaking, the wedding banquet hall exploded into chaos. "Julian, what on earth is going on with you?" Sophia was the first to react. She frowned and looked at me, her face as cold as ice. I knew this was the prelude to her about to lose her temper. In the past, I would have apologized to her long ago. But after hearing her inner voice, I realized that all my efforts were nothing but self-humiliation in her eyes. "Sophia, can't you understand what I'm saying? I said I'm not going through with this wedding." As soon as I said this, there was an uproar in the banquet hall again. Sophia, however, still had a cold and indifferent expression, without the slightest trace of panic. Because everyone knew that I was head over heels in love with Sophia. Sophia simply couldn't believe that I would give up the great opportunity to marry her. "Julian, you'd better think carefully. If we don't get married today, we'll break up." Sophia was so confident just because I liked her. But when I no longer liked her, she was nothing in my eyes. I gave a cold snort and simply tore off the groom boutonniere on my chest and threw it on the ground. "Sophia, I don't think you're good enough for me anymore. Let's break up." Before I could react, my father's figure had rushed onto the stage. The next second, slap! My cheek stung with pain. "You unfilial son! On this joyous day, do you want to embarrass the Julian family? Apologize to Sophia now." My mother was also glaring at me resentfully from the audience, as if I wasn't their son at all, but their enemy. "Mom and Dad, listen to me." I was just about to defend myself when I saw my brother Henry also come up. He softly said to my mother, "Mom, don't blame my brother. He didn't mean to embarrass us like this. It had always been like this since we were children." Henry seemed to be excusing me, but in fact, he was secretly fueling our parents' anger. Henry always used this trick to keep elevating himself while belittling me. Gradually, I became known as a selfish and vicious elder brother in the eyes of everyone. Sure enough, the next second, my mother glared at me with even more resentment. "Julian, hurry up and apologize to Sophia. Otherwise, get out of the Julian family." I suppressed the sadness in my heart and wanted to continue defending myself. But just as I was about to open my mouth, I heard my mother's inner voice. "I should have strangled this child to death when he was little if I had known he would be so disobedient." I stared in disbelief with my eyes wide open. My mother had indeed been a bit partial since I was a child. I naively thought that it was just because my younger brother's health was so poor that my mother gave him more love. But I never expected that my mother actually wanted me dead. I tried my best to calm down my emotions and said firmly, "I won't apologize. In that case, get out of the Julian family. From now on, there is no such unfilial son as you in the Julian family. He really is an unfilial son with a rebellious nature." My father's eyes full of disgust landed on me. Henry, standing beside me, pretended to look sympathetic and defended me. "Brother, don't say such angry words. Mom and Dad are doing this for your own good. You should have gotten out of the Julian family a long time ago. I'm the only heir of the Julian family. People like you are born to be trampled under my feet. Hearing Henry's inner voice and looking at his hidden and complacent eyes, a sense of sorrow suddenly welled up in my heart. The family members who were originally the most familiar to me suddenly seemed so strange. The person I loved the most didn't love me, and my closest family members wished I were dead. Since everyone disliked me, I might as well abandon them all. In that case, let's divide the family. I should have a share of the Julian group. Are you kidding me? You think you should have a share of the Julian group? Julian, what do you mean? I'm the chairman of the company. What right do you have to say that? My father was the first to jump up. I said unhurriedly, just because after I graduated and joined the company, I took the Julian group from a small company to a listed company, and just because I hold 55% of the shares of the Julian group in my hands. You know, even my father, who is the largest shareholder of the Julian group, only has 40% of the shares. Everyone immediately showed an incredulous look. My father asked in disbelief, "How could you have 55% of the shares?" I grinned, smiling somewhat mockingly. In the early years, the Julian group was in crisis and sold quite a few shares. I knew this had always been a problem in my father's heart. So over the years, I had been collecting them privately, hoping to give him a surprise on his birthday in a few days. Now it seemed that he didn't deserve my thoughtfulness at all. I'm the largest shareholder of the Julian group now. If you want to kick me out of the Julian family, I hope you're prepared to give up the Julian group. The angry expressions on the faces of those people suddenly turned to looks of consternation. I didn't want to listen to what they were thinking in their hearts. I raised my leg and was about to leave. Just then, Sophia grabbed my wrist. I saw her looking at me with a dark expression. "Julian, are you really sure you want to do this?" I raised my eyebrows and said directly, "I can do whatever I want." "Who do you think you are?" Sophia didn't expect that I, who was originally docile, would retort at her like this. Her face instantly turned red with anger. Seeing this, Henry rushed forward and came up to me. "Brother, don't go too far. If you have any grievances, you can say them out. Why are you taking it out on Sophia?" Henry looked at Sophia with a look full of affection. He stood in front of Sophia and blocked her. "Julian, if you have any grievances, you can take them out on me. There's no need to make things difficult for my brother Henry." Looking at the way they were protecting each other, I sneered. "Brother Henry? You two are really affectionate. People who don't know might think you two are a couple." Henry's face instantly froze as if his secret had been exposed. A trace of barely noticeable panic also flashed in Sophia's eyes. "Brother, what are you talking about? There's only a brother-sister relationship between me and Sophia. Why are you slandering us like this? So what if you find out? Sophia loves me the most. Not you." The corner of my mouth twitched involuntarily. Is this my own brother? I ignored this adulterous couple and directly walked towards the front of the stage. After reaching the front of the stage, I snatched the microphone from the MC and said to the guests in the audience, "Today, I, Julian, am canceling my wedding with Sophia. From now on, I, Julian, and Sophia have nothing to do with each other." Unfilial son. Who gave you the right to say that? My father was the first to react and shouted, rushing over to grab the microphone from me. I threw the microphone in my hand down. Screech. The microphone made a series of ear-piercing sounds as it collided with the ground. "You yourself said that you wouldn't recognize me as your son anymore. Now what right do you have to boss me around? As for the matter of dividing the family, I will send a professional lawyer to talk to you about it in a few days." After saying that, I ignored the expressions of everyone and left the banquet hall. Before I got home, the farce of today's wedding had already spread throughout the city. When everyone knew that my engagement with Sophia had broken off and I had been kicked out of the Julian family. Except for those who came to watch the drama, there were more looks of disdain and sarcastic remarks. Kicked out of the Julian family and having his marriage with Sophia called off. If I were Julian, I'd be too ashamed to show my face. Who doesn't know that Julian has been chasing Sophia for more than a decade? It's really a pity that he ended up like this. What's that saying? The dog that licks, chases someone blindly, ends up with nothing in the end. Ha ha ha, this Julian is really no match for his younger brother. He's truly a disgrace to our social circle. I didn't care about these rumors and gossip at all. After all, people who could say such things could only be wealthy playboys like my younger brother Henry who didn't have any real skills. After returning to the company, I directly called a board meeting. I announced my identity as the largest shareholder. The largest shareholder has the power to directly remove the current chairman of the company from his position. Without hesitation, I removed my father from the position of chairman at the board meeting. Almost all the shareholders present were in favor. After all, they didn't care who the chairman of the Julian Group was. All they cared about was the year-end dividend. Compared to my father, who only came to the company twice a year, it was obvious that they had more confidence in me as the chairman. When the notice of removing the chairman was sent to the Julian family, the people in the social circle also got wind of it again. The original looks of disdain and sarcastic remarks gradually disappeared and were replaced by flattery and attempts to please. Sitting in the chairman's office, I received a call from my father. "Julian, you ungrateful wretch. What right do you have to remove my position?" I spoke in a calm tone. "The largest shareholder has the right to remove any company decisions and personnel transfers at any time. This is the rule you set yourself. You haven't forgotten, have you?" My father was left speechless by my words. "Julian, we're family. Your mother and I were a bit hasty in what we said at that time. But if you have any grievances, you can just say them out. We can sit down and solve the problem properly. Why do we have to end up like this today?" I sneered inwardly. Clearly, the tough approach didn't work, so he was playing the family card now. "Father, you made it very clear at that time that you were going to kick me out of the Julian family. How dare I not listen to you? As for the details of the family division, I will calculate them carefully with you on your birthday. You unfilial son. I should have strangled you to death right away. You." I didn't give him any more time to scold me and hung up the phone directly. At the same time, doubts began to arise in my heart. Since we are both sons, there shouldn't be any thought of favoring sons over daughters. But why have my parents always favored Henry and ignored me since we were young? Was it just because Henry was in poor health? With these suspicions in my heart, I quickly found my friend's private detective and asked him to secretly help me investigate the truth. After finishing my work, just as I was about to go home, I saw Sophia and Henry pushing the door and walking into my office. My secretary behind them quickly followed them and nervously apologized to me. "Julian, I'm really sorry. These two insisted on coming in and I couldn't stop them." I waved my hand indifferently. "It's okay. I forgot to tell everyone that from now on, these two and dogs are not allowed in our company." Henry was so used to being doted on by his family that he had never been treated like this before. His face immediately turned a mix of green and purple. He called my name directly. "Julian. What do you mean?" "What do I mean? Can't you even understand what I'm saying?" I replied calmly. "You." Just as Henry was about to come forward and fight with me, Sophia beside him quickly grabbed him. "Julian, if you still have any grievances, take it out on me. Don't be angry, brother Henry." She had a look on her face as if she was holding back her sadness but still trying to dissuade us, which made Henry feel very sorry for her. "Sophia, you're just too kind, that's why you're being bullied by someone like Julian." Henry lovingly pulled Sophia into his arms. Looking at their affected and disgusting behavior, I rolled my eyes in disgust. They had just been saying that it was a relationship between a brother-in-law and sister-in-law, but now they were openly hugging and being affectionate in front of me. "If you're crazy, go get treated. Don't put on a show here in my office." Sophia looked at me angrily. "Julian, you're still so vicious. You're not even worth a single finger of brother Henry." Vicious? I had known her since we were young and had given my all, but this was the kind of evaluation I got from Sophia. I might as well have fed my sincerity to a dog. "Julian, if you know what's good for you, return the position of chairman to Father Julian immediately, then leave the Wong Group, and it would be best if you never show up in front of us again. Otherwise, don't blame my Sophia family for being rude." Sophia was carefully protected in Henry's arms, as if she were a precious treasure, but she still didn't hold back her words. "Haha. Sophia, you need to understand that I'm the chairman of the Wong Group now. I'll be the one making the decisions about the cooperation between the Julian family and your Sophia family in the future. What right do you have to demand anything from me?" The Sophia family had seemed glorious on the surface these years, but in fact, they had long since declined. And this marriage alliance between the Sophia family and the Julian family might be the only chance for the Sophia family to turn things around. Therefore, she definitely couldn't afford to miss it. Seeing that my attitude remained unchanged, a look of viciousness and resentment flashed in Sophia's eyes as she looked at me. "Sister Sophia, don't be angry. You forget that I'm also a member of the Julian family. The Julian family still has me." Upon hearing this, Sophia was delighted and gently leaned her head against Julian's chest. And the look in Henry's eyes as he looked at Sophia was filled with deep affection. "Brother Henry is so good to me. He even risked his life to save me. I really don't know how to repay him. I watched their clumsy and disgusting performance coldly. Seeing that I showed no sign of relenting, they finally left in embarrassment. After they left, I frowned. When did Henry save Sophia? In my memory, Sophia had only had an accident once. At that time, the Julian family and the Sophia family didn't know each other yet. By chance, Sophia and I were kidnapped together. During the escape, Sophia almost fainted. It took me a great deal of effort to bring her to safety. Because of this relationship, an extremely stable cooperative relationship was established between the Julian family and the Sophia family. The person who risked his life to save Sophia at that time was clearly me, but in Sophia's memory, it had become Henry. After thinking for a while, I figured it out. Presumably, when I was unconscious, my parents, in order to let their precious son Henry gain the favor of the Shin family, deliberately told lies. I had been wondering what Sophia saw in Henry, who was so useless. And now everything made sense. I really couldn't wait to see what Sophia's expression would be like when she found out that Henry wasn't her savior, and instead, it was me, the person she had hurt and disliked for years, who was her real savior. The day before my father's birthday, I received the investigation results from the private detective. Mr. Julian, the things you wanted have been sent to your phone. I had a hunch that the reason for their favoritism might be that I wasn't their biological son at all. But when I opened the investigation report, it clearly showed that I was indeed my parents' biological son. Just when I was puzzled, after looking at the next report, I was shocked. The report clearly stated that Henry had no blood relationship with my parents at all. That is to say, Henry and I were not really twins, and there was no blood relationship between us at all. The next few pieces of information detailed that Henry was my father's son with his first love. After his first love died during childbirth, my father had the idea of bringing Henry back to the Julian family. But he was worried that my mother would treat Henry badly because he was the son of his first love, so he took the opportunity to switch our identities. But what my father didn't know at all was that his first love had cheated on him a long time ago, and Henry wasn't his son at all. And the reason why my mother disliked me and even wanted me dead was that she had always thought that I was the son of a mistress, and Henry was her biological son. This was really a huge joke. Since my father's birthday was coming up soon, I decided to give him a big gift. On the day of my father's birthday, I returned to the Julian family. But when I got out of the car, I found that there was no one in the Julian family. After the driver asked the servants of the Julian family, I found out that because Henry's health suddenly took a turn for the worse and he fainted, now everyone in the Julian family was at the hospital. Jojo Hospital. Looking at the name of the hospital, I felt that even the heavens were helping me. I directly asked the driver to drive to the hospital. Because this hospital was not only the hospital where I was born, but also the hospital where I was treated after narrowly escaping death from being kidnapped. There were countless pieces of evidence in this hospital. When I arrived at the hospital, it happened that Sophia, my parents had just left. There was only Henry sitting on the hospital bed in the ward. When Henry saw me walk in, he was a bit surprised, and then he raised a triumphant smile. "I'm really sorry. I've made Mom and Dad stay by my side again, and they simply can't spare any thought for you." I asked disdainfully in return. "Henry, there's no one else here. Aren't you tired of putting on this act?" The smile on Henry's face paused for a moment, and then I heard his inner voice. "I think my elder brother is clearly jealous of the love Mom and Dad have for me. But who asked him to be inferior to me in every way?" Hearing Henry's inner thought, I laughed out loud. My younger brother was even dumber than I had imagined. He had no idea that I didn't care at all about the things he was so proud of now. "Henry, you're really pitiful." My words seemed to step on Henry's tail, and he instantly flew into a rage. "What's pitiful about me? It's you who's pitiful. Even your girlfriend likes me. You're the pitiful wretch who's unloved and uncared for." I remained unmoved as I watched Henry's crazy appearance. But my indifferent look only infuriated him even more. Since he couldn't find a way to vent his anger, he started smashing things in the ward. Just then, my parents and Sophia finally arrived late. As soon as the three of them entered the door, they immediately stood in front of Henry to shield him. My mother even protected Henry tightly, just like a hen protecting her chicks. Then, without even asking, my mother began to scold me without distinguishing right from wrong. "Julian, what on earth do you want to do? How can you be so vicious? Your younger brother is already in the hospital, and yet you still come here to hurt him. This Julian is indeed a natural-born villain." My mother's inner words finally snuffed out the last trace of my illusion of maternal love in my heart. I ignored them and just took out the first piece of information in my hand. It detailed all the assets of the Julian family. The shops on 2 streets were bought by me after I joined the Julian group and made a profit. Most of the remaining assets were also purchased after I joined the Julian group and got the company's profits on the right track. Of course, all these belonged to me. The faces of my parents, who were holding the information, grew worse and worse. Because before I joined the Julian group, apart from a few villas, the family didn't have any valuable assets. Julian, stop daydreaming. After all, I'm still your father. You'll pay the price for your arrogance today. Suddenly, my father laughed while holding the information. I've already talked to the minority shareholders in the company, and they're all willing to sell their shares to me. Once I acquire their shares, I'll become the chairman of the Wang Group again. Then let's see how you can still be arrogant. After saying that, my parents looked at me with a haughty expression, and Henry behind them also showed a gloating look. Looking at their despicable appearance like clowns, I also smiled. My father frowned and asked, "What are you laughing at?" I wiped away the tears that had come out from laughing and took out the second piece of information. It was the signed share acquisition contract. "Father, are the shares you mentioned these ones?" My father quickly picked up the information. After seeing clearly what was written on it, he staggered a few steps backward with unsteady steps. How could this be? How could this happen? In the business world, things that haven't been signed in a contract are likely to change. You surely understand this principle, don't you, father? By now, my father's face had turned deathly pale. And when my mother saw my father's appearance, she rushed towards me with her claws outstretched. Fortunately, I was quick-eyed and dodged in time. "You bastard! You were surely born to a bitch. When your father brought you back then, should have strangled you to death. Then you wouldn't have had the chance to harm our Julian family." Sophia immediately seized on the key point in the words and asked my mother, "Auntie, what do you mean? Are you saying that Julian isn't your son? How could a good-for-nothing like Julian be my son? He's a bastard, a wild child of a mistress. If I hadn't been soft-hearted and kept him at the beginning, he would have been dead long ago. But he doesn't know the slightest bit of gratitude." The looks in Sophia's and Henry's eyes as they looked at me were full of disgust. In the wealthy family circle, bastards are the most despised. Henry pretended and said, "How could this be? My elder brother isn't actually my real elder brother. No wonder Julian is inferior to me in every way. It turns out he's just the son of a mistress." Under the various and contemptuous looks of everyone, I threw out the final bombshell. If I remember correctly, my dear younger brother Henry should have type AB blood. Although my mother has type AB blood, my father has type O blood. My mother looked at me with disgust. "What do you mean? No matter how much you say, you can't hide the fact that you have the dirty blood of a mistress flowing through your body." My mother still didn't understand the meaning, but my father had already reacted. He picked up the information on the ground with trembling hands. After flipping through it, his face instantly turned ashen. Then he stared at Henry with a look of disbelief all over his face. "How could this be? I have type O blood, and Luna also has type O blood. How could our daughter have type AB blood?" Hearing my father's words, my mother also reacted. "Luna? You mean your first love, Luna?" My mother instantly flew into a rage and pounced on my father. "What do you mean by that? Explain it clearly to me." I smiled with a half-smile and said, "According to genetics, if one parent has type O blood and the other has type AB blood, the possible blood type combinations of their children will be OA and OB. The children's blood types will only be type A or type B, and there won't be type AB or type O blood. Do you understand what I'm saying?" My father suddenly pushed my mother aside. He quickly walked up to Henry and slapped him across the face. "You bastard! You and your mother are both bitches. I've actually been raising someone else's child for all these years." Seeing this scene, my mother was instantly stunned. She didn't dare to think about it, let alone admit it. Because just now she had just cursed at her own biological son, and the vicious words might even still be lingering in the room. Henry had been doted on and grown up, so when had he ever been treated like this? He was so stunned that tears unconsciously streamed down his face. "Father, what's wrong with you? Why did you hit me?" At this moment, my father was still angry and had no more of the affection he used to have for Henry. "You're a grown man, and you still have the nerve to cry. You're just as despicable as your mother. You're not a son of my Julian family. Get the hell out of the Julian family right now." Hearing this, Henry's body instantly froze. He hadn't expected that he had just been laughing at me for being the son of a mistress, and now the situation had suddenly turned around. He was not only the son of a mistress, but he wasn't even my father's son. He didn't even know whose illegitimate child he was. He looked at my mother hopefully. Mom, how could this be? My name is Henry, and I'm clearly a son of the Julian family. I'm your biological son. Mom, please tell Dad. My mother closed her eyes tightly and didn't look at him. At this time, I took the opportunity to distribute a copy of the prepared information in my hand to everyone. It included the paternity test results between me and Henry. There were also my father's romantic affairs from his early years. Sorry, I investigated some personal matters about my father in advance. If you don't believe the accuracy of this information, you can directly do a paternity test. After all, we're in the hospital right now. My words were like a knife stabbing into everyone's hearts. My mother looked up at me and reached out to touch my face. Julian. I gently raised my face and dodged it directly. Seeing my action, my mother's hand stopped in midair, and her face was full of regret and guilt. I smiled sarcastically. I don't need your love anymore now. Thank you for making me learn to be independent and strong. After hearing this, my mother's face turned pale, and her body couldn't help but sway. Seeing that he couldn't get the comfort he wanted from my parents, Henry immediately turned to look at Sophia. Sophia, you won't abandon me, right? You said you only love me. So what if I'm not their biological child? I still have you. Julian, you'll never be able to beat me in your whole life. After witnessing such a farce, Sophia's eyes were also full of shock at this moment. Brother Henry, of course I won't despise you. After all, you're my savior. On the day you saved me, I swore that I would only be good to you for the rest of my life. A look of gratitude appeared in Henry's eyes. Sophia, thank you. I will definitely make you the happiest bride. Unfortunately, as soon as he finished speaking, my mother had already rushed over and slapped Henry. You shameless thing. It was my biological son Julian who saved Sophia. I let you say those things before because I thought you were my son, but you actually took it seriously. Sophia's body froze, and a look of panic flashed across Henry's face. Brother Henry, what do you mean? Weren't you the one who saved me when we were kidnapped together? Sophia, of course it was me. How could I forget? You have to believe me. A look of hesitation appeared on Sophia's face. You said you saved me that night? Where did you put the button I gave you before I fainted? Henry immediately became flustered and pretended to rummage through his pockets for something. I watched all this coldly and slowly took out that golden button. It used to be my spiritual support, but now I find it disgusting. I threw the button at Henry's feet. Is this what you're looking for? You can have it if you like. I don't want this kind of trash anyway. Sophia was instantly stunned in her tracks. Suddenly, as if she had thought of something, she looked at me in disbelief. It was you who saved me at that time. I didn't answer, just gave a cold laugh. Just as Henry was about to reach out and hug Sophia, she pushed him away with a cold face. Before Henry could react, Sophia rushed out of the ward like a crazy person. After Sophia left, Henry stared at me with vicious eyes. But I walked towards him step by step without any fear. I curved my lips and said, Henry, you're really pitiful. What greeted me was Henry smashing things around like a madman. I turned around and was just about to walk out of the ward when I was blocked by my father. Julian, it's been all my fault all along. I was really wrong. For the sake of it being my birthday today, please forgive me, son. Father, over the years, you first had an affair, then switched my identity with that of an illegitimate child. During my growth, you constantly ignored me, used cold violence against me, and even tried to control me and make me your puppet. Tell me, how can I forgive you? The smile on my father's face froze. My mother also came out at this time and reached out to hold my hand. I glanced at her and dodged again. Julian, I'm sorry for you all these years. I was also kept in the dark. I don't ask you to forgive me, but please don't disown me, okay? At this moment, several wrinkles seemed to suddenly appear on my mother's face, which had been well maintained before, and she looked much older all of a sudden. Mom, this might be the last time I call you Mom. In fact, you can see that Henry doesn't look like you. It would be very easy to find out the truth if you wanted to. Unfortunately, you didn't. You just blindly blamed me for your failed marriage and used me as a tool to vent your anger. The harm I suffered was not only physical but also spiritual. I don't think I will ever forgive you in my life. Goodbye. After saying that, I walked into the elevator without hesitation. Just as I was about to walk out of the hospital entrance, Sophia walked out from the shadows. Julian, it was you who saved me at that time, right? I didn't hide it because it was meaningless now. That's right. Sophia lowered her head. Julian, I'm sorry. I don't accept your apology. After saying that, I raised my leg to leave. Sophia immediately grabbed my hand in a panic. Julian, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Please give me another chance, okay? Sophia's eyes were bloodshot, and tears couldn't stop rolling down her face. I had never seen the aloof Sophia in such an embarrassed state before. But after just a moment of hesitation, I pried open each of her fingers that were gripping my wrist with all her might. Sophia, let go. Sophia shook her head stubbornly. Looking at Sophia like this, all I felt in my heart was relief. Sophia, we've known each other for 13 years. I almost married you. You know what? Now I'm really glad I didn't marry you because you don't deserve my love at all. Sophia pleaded again. Julian, give me another chance. Let's start over, okay? Please give me another chance. I shook off Sophia's hand. Late affected affection is cheaper than grass. Sophia, why do you have to be like this? I didn't listen to Sophia's words of regret anymore and walked away in big strides. After things were over, I returned to my normal life. I lived a 9-to-5 life of managing the company. And the company has grown bigger and bigger under my leadership. My parents often call me to ask me to go back, but I ignore all of their calls. I don't want to see them, and they don't need me to support them either. The share dividends from the company are enough for them to live on in their old age. Sophia seems like a different person. She used to be as cold as frost, but now she's as enthusiastic as fire towards me. She persists in waiting for me downstairs of my company every day. I turn a blind eye to this. Because some things can never be repeated, like starting over with someone who has hurt you deeply. By chance, I saw Henry at a cocktail party. At this moment, a woman who looked even older than my mother was snuggling in his arms. Henry has been idle and good for nothing since he was a child and has no survival skills at all. After leaving the Julian family, he had no source of income. I don't know who introduced him, but he took the path of relying on rich women. However, this is not something I care about. I only came to this cocktail party because it was an invitation from an acquaintance, and I couldn't turn down their face. I showed up at the cocktail party with a glass of wine in my hand, but then came a stream of continuous flattery. I wanted to leave not long after. Just before I left, Henry called out to me. Julian, you must be very proud, right? Do you think you've already beaten me? I turned around and looked at Henry in confusion. Henry looked at me with jealousy, his eyes full of resentment and unwillingness. Julian, you wait. I will definitely surpass you. You don't even deserve to hold my shoes. On what basis can he surpass me? Is it based on his ability to rely on rich women? It's a pity that even the situation of a rich woman offering a large sum of money for a child wouldn't involve him because he was born with a kidney defect and is infertile. This is also something I found out from the information given by the private detective. He and Sophia had tried sleeping together many times before. This was also the reason why I heard Sophia's inner voice at the beginning and why she was willing to marry me. Because without an heir, she couldn't openly annex the Julian family's property. I'm afraid only my stupid and cheap fake younger brother could come up with such a method. Henry, I'll say it again. You're really pitiful. I'm not pitiful. I'm not pitiful at all. It's you who's pitiful. You're the pitiful one. Julian. I didn't care about Henry swearing and walked straight towards the door. After all, who would argue with an idiot?